हेलो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, कैसे हैं आप लोग। उम्मीद करती हूँ आप सब अच्छे होंगे। सर्विस चैप्टर 11, प्लांट ट्रीज अंडर हुज शेड यू डू नॉट प्लान टू सिट, फ्रॉम द बुक थिंक लाइक अ मॉन्क, written by J. Shetty, chapter Service. Part 1. The ignorant work for their own profit, and the wise work for the welfare of the world. Bhagavad Gita. I am a novice at the ashram, and we have been dropped off in a village with money and no food. With no money and no food, with the mission of to find our own way for 30 days. The weather is decent, and we have been given a warehouse for shelter. We leave our mats there and venture into the village. There are simple huts from which people sell food, spices, and sunrise. Laundry is strung between the huts. Most people travel by bike or on foot. Some of the children are barefoot, untethered, without a plan. The first thing we feel is fear, which provokes us to do whatever it takes to survive. We ask for handouts. People in India are generous and often give bread, fruit, or coins to people in spiritual dress. We visit the temple where pilgrims are given free food called prasad. This is satisfied food. This is sanctified food that is offered to God, then handed out. Anxious about our survival, we resort to selfishness and hoarding. By the second week, we are in better shape. We have figured out that we can earn our provisions by offering help to people in the village. We start assisting people with heavy loads or peddlers who could use a hand with their carts. We soon learn that opening our hearts and souls encourages others to do the same. The donations we received aren't dramatically different from the ones we got when we first arrived, but the exchange gives us a warm sense of communal compassion and generosity. And I feel like I have absorbed the lesson of our journey. We thought we had nothing, and indeed we had barely any material possessions, but we will still able to give people our effort. However, by the final week, we are well fed and secure enough to notice something deeper. Though we had come with nothing, we still had a certain kind of wealth. We are stronger and more capable than a lot of the people in the village. There are seniors, children, and disabled people on the street. All of them all of them in greater need than we are. I feel bad. One monk says this is short term for us. For them is forever. I think we are missing something. I add, we can do more in this village than survive. We recall Helen Keller's refrain. I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. This is unfortunately no exaggeration. In India, you often see people with missing limbs. I realize that now that we have found our way, we can share the food and money we have received with those who aren't as able to as we are. Just when I think I have learned the lesson of our journey, I come upon a revelation that affects me profoundly. Everyone, even those of us who have already dedicated our lives to survive, can always be more. These three stages of transformation felt like microcosm on the entire monk experience. First, we let go of the external and the ego. Second, we recognize our value and learn that we don't need to own anything in order to serve. And third, we continually seek a higher level of service. On the trip, I recognize that there is always room to wise. There is always more to give. Sister Christine Valdimiru, a Benedictine nun, as quoted in the monastic way, wrote, monastic spirituality teaches us that we are on a journey. The journey is inward to seek God in prayer and silence. Taken alone, we can romanticize this aspect of our life, but be monastic, there is a parallel journey, the journey outward. We live in community to grow in sensitivity to the needs of others. The monastery is then a center to come out of and to invite others into. The key is always to maintain both journeys, inward and outward. The highest purpose. In this lecture at my college, Gauranga Das had inspired me when he said, "Plant trees under whose shade you do not plan to sit." That sentence captivated me and launched me on a trajectory I had never imagined. And now I have to make a confession. I have been holding out on you. We have talked about how to let go of influences of external noise, fear, envy, and false goals. We have explored how to grow by harnessing our minds, our egos, and our daily practices to live in our dharma. All of this is toward the goal of living fulfilling, meaningful lives, a worthy path. But here and on social media and in my classes and in every medium in which I teach, I haven't yet revealed the most important lesson I learned as a monk, and one that I carry with me and every day of my life. Drum roll, please. The highest purpose is to live in service. It's not that I have been keeping service a secret. I mention it often, but I have waited until now to talk about the central role I believe it should play in all our lives, because frankly, I think most of us are somewhat resistant to the idea. Sure, we want to help those in need and maybe already find ways to do so, but we are limited by the pressure and needs of our own work and lives. We want to solve our own issues first. Jay, I am the one who needs help. I have so much to figure out before I can devote myself to helping others. It's true, it's hard to think about selflessness when we are struggling, and yet that is exactly what I learned as a monk. Selflessness is the surest route to inner peace and a meaningful life. Selflessness is the self. Monks live in service, and to think like a monk ultimately means to serve. The monastic way quotes Benedictine monk Dom Elred Graham as saying, "The monk may think he has come to the monastery to gain something for himself, peace, security, quite a life of prayer or study or teaching. But if his vocation is genuine, he finds that he has come not to take but to give. We seek to leave a place cleaner than we found it, people happier than we found them, the world better than we found it. We are nature, and if we look at the observed nature carefully, nature is always serving. The sun provides heat and light. Trees gives oxygen and shade. Water quenches our thirst. We can, and monks do, view everything in nature as servings. The Srimad Bhagavad Gita says, "Look at these fortunate trees. They live solely for the benefit of others. They tolerate wind, heat, rain, and snow, but still provide shelter for our benefit. The only way to be one with nature is to serve. It follows that the only way to align properly with the universe is to serve, because that's what the universe does." The 16th century Guru Rupa Goswami talks about Yukta Vairagya, which means to do everything for a higher purpose. That's real detachment, utter renunciation, perfection. Some monks strictly apply this standard to their practices, stripping themselves of material possessions altogether. But in reality, the rest of us need to work for our living. We are all going to end up owing stuff, but we can look at how we use what we have. We can use our homes to foster community. We can use our money and resources to support causes we believe in. We can volunteer our talents for those in need. It's not wrong to have things if we use them for good. The Bhagavad Gita sees the whole world as a kind of school, an education system structures to make us realize one truth. We are compelled to serve, and only in service can we be happy. Like fire is hot as the sun is light and warm. Service is the essence of human consciousness. Know the reality of the world in which you live. Know it to be impermanent, unreal, and the source of our suffering and delusion. Seeing the purpose of life to be sense gratification, making ourselves feel good, leads to pain and dissatisfaction. Seeing it as service leads to fulfillment. Think like a monk. Book. Service is a good for the body and soul. Service fulfills us on many levels, beginning with my simple belief that we are born wired to care for others, to so service does us good. This instinct is most obvious in children who aren't distracted by other demands on their time and attention. An image that went viral shows a little girl, probably about 2 years old, watching a politician crying on Japanese TV. She takes a tissue, goes up to the TV, and tries to wipe away the politician's tears. Such things go viral because we recognize and perhaps miss the little girl's compassion for another person, even a stranger. In Long Walk to Freedom, Nelson Mandela writes, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, then they can be taught to love, for love comes for more naturally to the human heart than its opposite." Just as Mandela believed people were born to love but taught to hate, monks believe that we are born to serve. But the distractions of the external world makes us forget our purpose. We need to reconnect with that instinct in order to feel like life has meaning. I have already touched on Joseph Campbell's concept of the mythic hero's journey. It is a formula describing the steps that a hero goes through when he embarks on an adventure, encounters trials and obstacles, and returns victorious. One of the key elements of the hero's journey is one we often overlook, the last stage with Campbell, called Return to Elixir. Bye for now.